And the next person I would like to work is Tina, who is the Deputy Director of the Comic Art Museum, which is which is in Belgium, and recently opened a brand new permanent exhibition called A Century of Belgian Comics. And she's going to talk us through how this has been done, how the choices were made, and what kind of technologies they decided to use. So, Tina, welcome. And thank you so much for being part of our webinar.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting us to this webinar. We are, as Diana already explained, we are a museum in the heart of Brussels, the Comic Art Museum. We are a museum also, I should say that we are usually not heavily relying on technology. And it's even a bit reflected in my presentation because I didn't manage to get the parameters of the preferences of the Zoom right. But I will tell you the story of our new exhibition, A Century of Belgian Comics. If I say it's new, it's very new. We've just opened it. It's a permanent exhibition. We've opened it on 4th of October. And it's been the end of a long process of preparation. We have been preparing it for several years. I'll give you a short explanation about the museum for those, because I imagine that you haven't all been here. We're also situated in a historical building, it used to be a warehouse by Victor Horta, so it's a Jugendstil building, Art Nouveau, as we call it in Belgium. And it's also a building which is classified as a monument, so we can't do that much in changing the building itself. Maybe the next slide. This, of course, when it's the permanent part where we present the history of Belgian comic. It's about 1 century of Belgian comics. It was for us a huge opportunity to reflect on our practices in exhibiting comics, which is our core business, what we do every day. We have been making, we have been around for 35 years. So we started in 1989. And we make 4 major exhibits about comics a year, so temporary shows. But this was, of course, something permanent, and it was something that was very much awaited by the public. When people come to Belgium, visit Brussels, they want to hear the story about Tintin the Smurfs, Lucky Luke, all of the heroes that our country is so famous for. So the next slide, maybe. And one of the central questions we often ask ourselves is when we exhibit comics at a museum is, what do we show? Which media do we show? Because comics is a medium that is consumed in several ways. So if we ask ourselves, how do readers consume comics? The very first experience, which is still at the heart of comics consumption, is, of course, reading books. Is reading comic book volumes, reading magazines. It used to be also a lot in the newspaper, in the press. So this is very often a very intimate experience that we have in our families, in our homes, something we often read for our children, the books we used to read when we were kids. So it's a very, I think, a very special thing in Belgium, this reading experience. But comics also come in many other shapes. And if a comic becomes successful, we all know examples from the United States, Superman, Spider-Man, etc., but also from our Belgian comics. There's cartoon movies, there's live action movies. So we see them also on the big and the small screen. And then this is an industry that has been very active on creating new experiences around the universe of the comic heroes. So we have festivals, we have theme parks, we have video games, merchandise, puppet shows, theater shows, etc., etc., etc. So these are all ways that are around out there. and that are also part of the way people consume comics and the way they create their mental image of the comics. And then there is other perspectives on the art as well, which is first of all the creator's perspective. When we ask creators is how would you like to see your art presented in an exhibit? They will always say, we love to see how it's made. We love to see sketches, we love to see documentation, we love to see scraps of papers, we love to see things that in the end didn't make it till the book, personal objects, storyboards, etc. So this is also part of the corpus of comic art heritage that is around. And another perspective, if we ask what do we show at the museum, we also have a very important art market around comics. I think most of you have heard about original comic art that is sold at auction halls and goes around for hundreds of thousands of euros. So if you ask collectors, what do you want to see in the museum? They want to see the rarest, most unique, and most expensive pieces of original comic art. So these are the reflections that are always around when we make exhibitions. We know that we have readers to satisfy, we know that we have creators to satisfy, and we know that we also have collectors that are around there and who want to see original art. The next thing. So, and now we are here before this enormous challenge. We want to tell the story of 1 century of Belgian comics. So Belgian comics, there's been pioneering comics from the 19th century, a bit in the early 20th century, but it really takes off at the end of the 1920s. So that's when we put our time limit. But even then, we have 1,500 artists about, and a very complex story. So there's comics in Dutch, comics in French, and there's also a lot of international artists that are drawn to Belgium because Belgium is a center of comic art production. So it's not so easy to put the boundaries, but we decided at least upon a time limit. And then we had to, if we wanted to tell all this in an exhibition that was actually quite small, we needed to have a clear outline. So we chose to have one central question for the exhibition, which was, we wanted to answer this question that people ask us many times is, why do you have so many comics in Belgium? Can you explain the success of Belgian comics? So this became the central question. And of course, we had to downscale the number of artists in the exhibition. So we decided that we would talk about the most successful comic artists and the ones that had the most impact for audience as well as on other creators. So because we wanted to tell a story about the impact of our industry, we decided that we would not only show books or original art, but everything we have at hand. So TV archives, movies, advertisement, merchandise. We wanted to use every possible thing that we could put our hands on. Because we wanted to show how these comics also got alive in our society and became so important up till little small extras that you can find in your cereals in the morning, like the Smurfs statues. This was also part of our story if we wanted to talk about the success and the way it got such a so rooted in our society. So everything we had at hand, but we wanted a central place, a place of choice for books and original art in our exhibition. And then we wanted to go back to the first-hand experience. How do we get to comics? This is through reading comic books, volumes or magazines. And that was really important that we had a central place for it in the exhibition. So I will now detail a bit more about the exhibition design and the way we did this. You see two pictures. So at the left, you see the end, the final room of the exhibition, which is actually a reading room. So we made it as cozy as possible. So it would really be like a living room, and there is a library shelf, and people can just sit down and read. And we have a selection of books from the Century of Belgian Comics. And on the other hand, you see the central rooms. It's really at the heart of the exhibition, where there is original art. You see a page of Tintin and a page of Spirou Robedous. So we worked with an exhibition design, a scenographer from France, and they we've had it's been quite an adventure, this exhibition, because we've tossed it in the bin for a few times and started again from a blank page. But this is where we ended. So it's an experience really in 4 chapters. So people come into the exhibition in a very dark, immersive part we call the labyrinth. This is the time of the pioneers and the time of all of the golden age of Belgian comics. These are the names that people first get at mind when they think about Belgian comics, like Lucky Luke, Tintin, etc. So this part, it's meant to be really immersive. It's completely in the dark. So it's it's very clear. You go through a curtain to get in, and there is a lot of animation in black and white, but it's very dark. So, and also with a sound design that is adapted. Then you go through all this pioneering time. There is a cinema at the end, which is a sort of shows everything. I will show you more pictures later. And then after this period, which is about a period from 1920 till, let's say, end of the 1960s, we have a moment of rest. A moment of rest is our treasure room, where we show original art. We have a very limited selection. So there's place for, I think, 25 or 30 originals from all eras. So from the early time as well as from later, in this central room. And then we go on to the modern time, which is in the daylight. So we get out of the dark into the daylight. So it's very clear that we're in another atmosphere. And then at the end, we have the reading room with a photo booth to end it. Yeah, the next one. What was, of course, very important for us is to have a poetic guideline to create unity, because we have all these many creators. So it was one of the ideas of our exhibition designers to create a visual guide, and they decided to create a sea serpent. So it's a sort of a metaphor for Belgian comic art creation. It's a mythical image. We don't know where it ends. We don't know where it goes, but it takes in many influences. So it's animated on the wall. It comes out of a TV screen, it comes out of a radio, and that's the way we show it. Also, the graphic design is very marked. It's black, white, and gold. There is a lot of moving image, a lot of animation, and there is a sound design that is different for all of the chapters. So there is a more mysterious atmosphere for the first part and more of a loungy atmosphere for the last part and for the sofas.
Could I just jump in there, Tina, just to say you just have 5 minutes left?
Okay.
I hope that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, next, please. So some pictures, you can see the sea serpent. So you just have an idea about the way it looks. You can see someone listening to TV archives and interviews. Yeah, I'll go on. I knew this would go faster. We can see cartoon movies. This is also our movie theater. So we have a timeline. It's going through time very quickly, only one image for each of the things we discuss. On the right, there's another image, just you can go on. So this is all of the dark part, and this is the lighter part I was talking about. This is modern time. You can see it's a different kind of atmosphere. And all the way on the right, you can see the way that we chose about 30 creators from today, and we presented to them just the cover of the book, a small explanation, and a few pages. That's the way we did it. Yeah. The next one. And these are, as I said, the reading room. So I'm already at my conclusion. So why did we do we think it's important to use this immersive technology, all of the animation, the sound design, etc.? We think it's very useful to draw people's attention, to create an uncommon environment, to stimulate visitors' senses, and in a way, their openness to learning. We involve their emotions, their senses. It creates a strong experience, and it's also, I think, meeting visitors' expectations. We have 250,000 visitors a year coming from all over the world. Many young audience. We have quite a young audience. So that's another motivation, is that we often got this request for interactivity in the exhibition. And it's also because we have all of these, we have, for example, the sea serpent. The exhibition as a work of art of itself, celebrating creativity in a way. But for us, it's important to maintain a central place for the reading experience. Moments of rest in a highly stimulating environment. We create this intimacy, this coziness. It works really well. There's also an act of participation. The visitors choose their own books, what they want to read in the reading corner, and it's highly valued by visitors, by individuals, by parents, by children. So it's also something we see that the feedback is really positive. We also have in our museum a library and a documentation center. Entrance to the library is included in the museum tickets, and about 1/10 of the visitors afterwards will go to the reading room to have some more reading even. So we see that for us, it's very stimulating in the exhibition part, especially in the part in the dark. And these moments of rest afterwards work really well, especially because it's so stimulating before. And I think both can really enforce each other, and that's the experience. That's what was our ambition, and I think we succeeded quite well. I have one last slide, I think. So this is another thing I wanted to talk about. It's another experience for us in the museum. So we're not a very technological museum, but COVID also helped us a bit, because we could benefit from a special grant to have new technologies in the museum, and we created an AR application. So 1/10 of our visitors goes to the reading room, and 1/10 of our visitors uses the AR application. It's just a QR code that is next to our visitor's desk, and people can scan it. It's free. It works inside the museum. And for example, you can you have all of these beacons in the museum that can activate extra content. So the statues tell their story, for example, with the speech bubbles. There's also some challenges, some downsides, I'd say, for a technological museum that have been touched upon by former speakers as well. We see, for example, if we use the application, that visitor experience become more individual. Is the case as well in a new permanent exhibition. There's less museum talk, people talking about what they see, because there is the sound, there is the movies, etc., that ask a lot of attention. And also the museum experience goes by the rhythm of video and sound, and it cannot be paused. Our guides, for example, have been requesting to have their proper remote control to pause videos, to be able to comment, because it's too fast for them and they want to stop it. So we're looking, currently it's not a finished job. We're currently looking at ways to improve it, to include all of the other museum practices that are still important to us. So that's about it for me.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you so much. Again, huge amounts of things to think about there in that and in that wonderful presentation. I love a couple of lovely comments in the chat about exhibitions with sofas are always the best. I am so with you on that one, Suzanne. And Armand just expressing how lovely it is to hear. Oh, sorry, just another Suzanne talking about how lovely it is to have reading act technology as your kind of like your outcomes. That's such a beautiful combination.